The silence between power and revenge is about to break, and this time, one move could destroy everything Bertha built. Season 4 of The Gilded Age isn't just continuing the story, it's raising the stakes to a level where no character can stay untouched. The world Bertha Russell fought so hard to conquer is no longer stable. It's shifting, reacting, and quietly preparing to push back. And the most dangerous part? Bertha may not even see it coming. After the explosive events of last season, Bertha stands at the peak of her power. She changed society rules, forced acceptance, and proved that she is not someone who waits for permission. But power always comes with a cost. The moment she opened the doors of high society to those who were once rejected, she didn't just make a statement, she challenged the very foundation of the old guard. And people like Agnes Van Rhijn are not known for forgiving or forgetting. Now, the tension isn't loud, it's strategic. Agnes is watching, waiting, calculating her next move. She doesn't need chaos, she needs timing. Because in a world like this, one perfectly placed decision can undo years of progress. And Bertha, despite all her strength, is now surrounded by consequences she can't fully control. At the same time, the cracks in Bertha's personal life are becoming harder to ignore. Her relationship with George is no longer as solid as it once seemed. On the surface, things may look normal, but underneath there's distance. George showed up when it mattered, but not out of love, out of duty. And that changes everything. Because a marriage built on power can survive many things, but emotional distance? That's where it starts to break. Bertha, however, is not someone who accepts defeat. She doesn't sit with pain. She transforms it into strategy. Right now, she's not just dealing with society. She's planning her next move in both her personal and social battles. And if there's one thing we know about her, it's this. When Bertha decides to fix something, she doesn't stop until she wins. But here's the real question, what if this time, winning isn't possible? Because while Bertha is busy protecting her empire, the people around her are changing. Her children are making their own choices, forming their own alliances, and slowly stepping out of her control. And that's where things become unpredictable. Because the biggest threat to power isn't always the enemy outside sometimes. It's the change happening within your own family. Season 4 is setting up a dangerous balance. On one side, a woman who refuses to lose. On the other, a society that refuses to fully accept her. And right in the middle, relationships that are starting to shift in ways no one can fully control. This isn't just about status anymore. It's about survival. And the moment that balance breaks, everything could fall apart. The real danger in Season 4 is not open conflict. It's the quiet shift where trust begins to disappear before anyone even notices it. In the world of the Gilded Age, power has always been a game of appearance. But now, appearances are no longer enough to hold things together. Bertha Russell may have reached a position of influence that once seemed impossible, yet influence does not guarantee loyalty. The same society she reshaped is now learning how to adapt without her permission. And that makes her position far more fragile than it looks. Bertha's decision to challenge social boundaries has created ripples that are still expanding. Inviting those once rejected into elite spaces may have looked like a victory, but it also created resentment in places she didn't expect. The old families did not disappear, they reorganized. And Agnes Van Rhijn stands at the center of that quiet resistance, not rushing, not reacting emotionally, but waiting for the right moment to restore what she believes was lost. That kind of patience is dangerous because it doesn't fade with time, it strengthens. At the same time, Bertha's home life is no longer immune to outside pressure. Her marriage with George continues to carry tension beneath the surface. Even when they appear aligned in public, the emotional distance between them grows in private moments. George's choices last season left a mark that cannot be ignored, even if no one speaks about it directly. And Bertha, who has always relied on control, is now facing a situation where control does not guarantee emotional stability. What makes this even more complex is that Bertha does not operate from weakness, she operates from strategy. Every disappointment becomes fuel. Every setback becomes calculation. She is already thinking ahead, trying to rebuild stability before others realize there is instability at all. But the problem with rebuilding while everything is shifting is that you may end up reinforcing something that is already collapsing from within. Meanwhile, the younger generation is no longer just observing these power struggles, they are becoming part of them. Choices that once seemed personal are now deeply connected to family reputation and future alliances. Relationships are no longer just emotional decisions, they are political ones. And that creates pressure that not everyone is ready to handle. Marian's journey begins to take a more independent direction as she finds meaning outside the expectations placed on her. Her involvement in life beyond social rules hints at a path that could separate her from traditional roles entirely. Whether that path strengthens her or isolates her remains uncertain, but one thing is clear, she is no longer willing to simply follow. Elsewhere, Peggy's struggle continues in a different form. Her relationship brings emotional stability, but acceptance from his family remains a constant barrier. Love is not the issue, approval is. And in this world, approval often carries more weight than emotion. The pressure to prove herself worthy becomes a test that has less to do with who she is and more to do with how others choose to see her. All of these threads are slowly moving toward a single point of tension. No one realizes it yet, but the decisions being made in isolation are starting to collide. And when they do, the consequences will not be limited to one family or one relationship. They will spread across every layer of society that Bertha tried to control. Season 4 is not building toward comfort, it is building toward consequence. And the most unsettling part is that everyone believes they are still in control of their own story, when in reality, they are already part of something much larger that is about to change everything. Everything in Season 4 of The Gilded Age is moving toward a point where no character can remain untouched by consequence. What once looked like separate storylines is now quietly becoming a single chain of reactions, where one decision triggers another, and control becomes harder to maintain with every passing moment. Bertha Russell stands at the center of this shifting world, still carrying the image of a woman who reshaped society through determination and force of will. But influence is no longer just about creating change, it is about sustaining it. The world she changed is now learning how to respond without her guidance. That is where the real challenge begins. Because when people adapt, they also begin to resist in quieter, more calculated ways. And resistance that does not show itself openly is often the most difficult to defeat. Her marriage with George continues to reflect this instability in subtle but meaningful ways. What once felt like a partnership grounded in shared ambition now carries emotional distance that neither side fully addresses. George's actions from the past continue to echo in the present, not through conflict, but through silence. And silence, in relationships built on power and expectation, often becomes heavier than words. Bertha, however, does not easily accept emotional uncertainty. If there is a fracture, she will try to find a way to realign it, but not all fractures can be repaired through strategy. At the same time, Agnes Van Rhijn represents a completely different kind of force. She does not need to rebuild what was changed, she simply needs to reassert what was once dominant. Her strength lies in patience, in observation, and in the belief that time eventually corrects imbalance. She is not chasing Bertha directly. Instead, she is allowing circumstances to create opportunities. And that makes her just as dangerous, if not more, because she does not act in haste. She waits for certainty. Inside this external tension, personal lives are becoming increasingly difficult to separate from social consequences. Marian's journey continues to move toward independence, but independence in this world comes with emotional and social cost. The choices she is making suggest a quiet departure from expectation, even if that path brings uncertainty. She is no longer simply reacting to society, she is testing whether she can exist outside its structure. Peggy's situation carries a different kind of pressure. Her relationship offers emotional connection, but acceptance remains unstable. The struggle is not within the relationship itself, but within the environment surrounding it. In this society, approval often defines legitimacy, and without it, even genuine love is constantly tested. Her strength is not in avoiding that pressure, but in deciding how much of herself she is willing to compromise to meet it. As these personal and social threads continue to tighten, The underlying truth of Season 4 becomes harder to ignore. Stability is an illusion that only lasts until every character is forced to choose between what they want and what they are expected to preserve. And when those choices begin to collide, the consequences will not remain contained within one household or one social circle. The most dangerous moment is not when conflict begins, but when every side believes they are acting correctly, because that is when no one steps back. And once that point is reached, even the strongest foundations begin to crack in ways that cannot be easily reversed. Season 4 is building toward that exact moment.